Well, Chag Sameach, everybody, and a little bit in advance, Shabbat Shalom. And I want to thank everybody that joined me today. I'm doing this a little early because, boy, we've got quite a full schedule coming up, don't we? And I thought I'd stay in my prayer stuff, my talid and the fill-in and everything. And, putting these things on, putting on the talid and the fill-in every morning and praying, it creates such a personal, sacred space. We say Matovu when we come into a synagogue, and we talk about it being our sacred space. But there's something about wearing the talit and the tefillin and engaging in prayer, and kind of communicating to Hashem. That really, it just gives you another dimension to your life. It's just so special. It's so inspiring. I wanted to share that. And thank you for those that participated in our services. We have a lot of services going on. We'll see how it goes. But Passover is a very special time. And it's the time when we became a people. It really is. Before that, we were just a bunch of Hebrews, a bunch of Israelites with our tribes. And, we kind of had this little idea of, as one of our students, Jack, describes it as ethical monotheism, but it wasn't really until Moses led us into freedom, not just a physical freedom, but a spiritual freedom. Think about that. It's the freedom to worship, the freedom to be people, to be God's children, and to recognize everybody as God's children. It's really kind of a beautiful, wonderful concept. And we talk about this idea of welcoming people. A central concept in Judaism. Love your fellow, love your neighbor as yourself. Welcome the stranger. We're all here on God's earth, and if you're into science fiction, other planets, whatever, they all have beings, intelligent beings. We're all made by the same creature, the same being, the same God. So why not love each other? And I know that you can't really be commanded to love people, but the commandment has to do with respecting people. Act like you love people. Hillel, what is hateful to you, don't do to others. And that's really kind of a central concept to Judaism. Okay, so now that Passover is ending, and it will be over next week, and we'll be back to our regular flow of parshas, of Torah portions. We go back to Leviticus, the regular flow, and we get to the portion of Shmini. And what's happening as Shmini opens, Shmini is 8th, and it is the 8th day after the consecration of Aaron and his sons, and the beginning of the priestly class. Those people from the clan of Abraham's family, of the clan of the tribe of Levi. And yes, tribes had clans. You had the various tribes, the 12 tribes, and within those tribes you had clans, families. And this is the clan, Aaron's offspring, that will be the priests, one of whom will be the high priest. So we have a very interesting occurrence, a very tragic occurrence. It was the death of Nadab and Abihu, Aaron's two oldest sons. And these two were in succession, were in line to become the high priest after Aaron. So after all the instructions are given for committing the offerings, and for that, what you do during the holidays. So it's really kind of laid out. The daily offerings, the yearly offerings, the daily offerings through the year, and also, the special offerings that are going to happen during the special days. How many bulls, how many lambs during Passover, et cetera, et cetera. So Nadab and Abihu go into the Holy of Holies, the innermost sanctum of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, the place where only the high priest goes in only one time a year during Yom Kippur with a very specific mixture of incense, a mixture that we are told, a negative commandment, do not use this for any other purposes other than the service of the Kohen Gadol during Yom Kippur. These two walk into the Holy of Holies with what's described in the Torah as an alien, a foreign mixture. And they are struck dead immediately. Their souls were taken. They were zapped. Bodies are intact, but they are dead. There is a lot of commentary about this, different opinions. The opinion is that these two were drunk because right after that, we get the negative commandment, don't go in there and under the influence of alcohol. Your judgment's impaired. Don't do it. Now, some commentators will say that's absurd. These two were so righteous and they were in line to be the high priests. They did this because they were so consumed by love of God and they wanted to show their love that they went in there and they just did it on their own. Yes, they did it on their own because they had such a love for Hashem. And God took them because God loved them so much and he wanted them to be in heaven. Okay. I don't know if I buy that. Rabbi Hertz, now this is the Art Scroll, the Orthodox, which is very fundamental. I mean, they're saying these guys were righteous. They were in line to be the high priests. Of course, they did not act stupidly. Rabbi Dr. Hertz in the Sonsino Chumash has kind of a different idea. He said these two were so ambitious, they couldn't wait for Moses and Aaron to be out of the way so they could take over. And they were acting haughty, and that's why God took them. If you notice that later on, Eliezer and Itamar, the two younger sons, or youngest sons, acted a lot differently. Eliezer took his role seriously when he became high priest after Aaron went off, right? And Itamar too. He overseed a lot of the things that were going on, and he took his role very, very seriously. Now, were they scared because their brothers, kind of died? Maybe. Or was that just who they are? I prefer to think that that's who they were. Rabbi Hertz seems to think that these two were just overly ambitious, and they really didn't have the sense, the kavod, the honor, to be the high priests. Okay, so why were they killed? Well, let me kind of give you my take on this. So after they were killed, and after God took their lives, and their cousins went in to get them and, take care of them and bury them, God said, I will be sanctified. Which, by the way, spoiler alert, is what he said when Moses struck the rock. Was Moses punished by not go into the Holy Land because he struck the rock? Because God told him not to? No, because this is what God said to do. God said, speak to the rock. God told him, don't go in there unless it is the Yom Kippur and you're doing the service of expiation of the high priest. And this is the mixture of incense that you will take. And these two basically acted on their own against God's will. So if you're an Israelite and you're watching this, what are you going to think? You're going to think that they're acting in God's will, they're doing what's right, so that's what you're going to do. That's the point. They disobeyed, they made God look like, well, you think, you finish the sentence. They didn't sanctify God. That's what the Torah says. They didn't follow the instructions. And they and think about this. If you're in a class, you're taking a class, there's a teacher or a professor. You're at work, there's a manager or a boss. The manager comes out there and says, okay, this is what we're going to do. This is we got a special project, and this is how I'm going to organize it, and this is what and somebody goes off and says, no, I'm going to do it differently. How does that make the boss look? It makes the guy look like he's trying to take over, trying to take charge, disrespecting the boss. These two, they didn't sanctify God. They were disrespecting God's commandments. They were disrespecting what God said. Everybody's trying to follow God. When you start taking matters into your own hands, what happens? You now start to have cults. You now start to have idol worshiping, right? You now start to have people that think they're better than God because we're going to follow our rules, not God's rules. And the whole point of this thing that we now call Judaism, the Exodus, all the commandments, the Torah, the Hebrew scriptures, is that God is the one and only God. That's it, one God. And we have prayers that remind us, the stars in the sky and the heaven, the heavenly bodies, God made them. They bend to God's will. In some of the Psalms, it says that the idols are Elohim. The word Elohim means nothing, right? Idols are nothing. They're just pieces of material. That's it. They don't do anything. So God has to be respected and God has to be obeyed. Else, we don't have a religion. We have chaos. We don't have true divine justice. And that's what this is all about, in my opinion. Following, again, just the words of the Torah. So, hope you had a great Passover. Hope you enjoyed it. I personally love the various holidays. I like doing the different things and honoring them, and hopefully you do too. And we're going to make it fun for you. Okay, so Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach, and hey, Happy New Year! It's the beginning of the secular year, right? Okay, thank you for watching. Thanks for participating, and we'll see you again.